So I want to talk about getting to know the environment and getting connected to the earth and to the environment as part of getting conscious of what being green is about, and the motivation for the real deep caring that I think we need to cultivate if we want to be able to make good positive changes for the environment and for the earth. And here around Katona area, we have a lot of wild natural spaces, and we have a lot of people who don't really know anything about them, about the wild spaces. They have cultivated lawns that get mown, and they have, and you can look around here, where I happen to live, it's pretty wild, a little more natural than most places, but I've had the privilege of growing up learning about wild plants, learning about nature. I grew up partly on a farm, and I got to see both farm animals and a lot of wild animals, and I've done a lot of camping and just a lot of more living in areas that aren't as distant from wildlife and wild natural environment as we tend to be around here. So one thing I want to talk about is foraging and herbalism and eating plants that we're not used to, that we don't get in the regular store. So I've had the experience recently of walking into an Asian market and realizing that I don't know not even half of the fruits and vegetables that they had there. And I found that surprising because I've worked with food basically my whole life. And then it just got me thinking about knowing food, and then a lot of people who I know don't know about all the foods that are just around us here in Katona, Bedford, Brewster, all these areas around here. There's tons and tons of food just out in your backyard or your neighbor's backyard or in the parks. So one thing I wanted to, this has sort of been one of my Bibles, Wildman Steve Brill's Identifying and Harvesting Edible and Medicinal Plants, which we will have available as an ebook soon. I'm working with him on that for sale. So one of the classic books is Yule Gibbons. Many people have heard of him, Stalking the Wild Asparagus. Wonderful field guide edition, this old book. Problem is the pictures, and there's a lot of text and not a lot of pictures. So I just want to share with you a little bit how you can get started and how you can connect and why you should learn about wild foods, which is what I was just saying. I think that people should know what's around them. And once they know what's around them, they're going to care more about how we affect what's around them. So, like on this farm where I live, we would have no problem eating any foods that are here. This hasn't been, it probably has never been sprayed with any toxic chemicals. It may have been 35 years ago, but there's nothing been sprayed for the past 35 years since Americans have owned it. But you go somewhere else and probably they've sprayed all kinds of things where you take care of lawns, and there might be chemicals sprayed for insects, for weeds, all kinds of things that you just wouldn't want to eat that food anymore. Or it's no longer food, really. It's no longer safe food. That's one thing. Another thing is just getting to know these things. So I wanted to just give you a couple of quick ideas on how to get to know your environment. First thing is, there's classes all the time in our region. Wildman Steve Brill lives here. I'm here. You can email me at katonagreen, editor@katonagreen.com. I know a lot of plants. You can look online and you can read books. And I just want to show you what my favorite books are, my motivational books. So I started out with reading Stalking the Wild Asparagus years ago. It's a good read. Bad pictures, you really can't learn to identify anything. Then I got Peterson's Field Guide, fabulous pictures. This one is the medicinal plants and herbs from Eastern Central region. Excellent. It's a must-have because of all the color pictures and the way it's organized. Now, this same Peterson's guide, but it's a different one, is the medicinal plants. So it has different plants in it and more about their uses. And it has also has edibles in it. So it's really good. They also have an edible field guide, which you should have. Now for pictures and identifying things, this one has just pencil drawings, but the information on when and where and how to identify the things exactly on each plant and then how to use it is the best compilation that I've read. And I've I have had over the years, I've probably had about 20 different field guides and plant books. I use this Organic Gardening, Botanica's Organic Gardening, because of the pictures. And they do have some herbs and vegetables, especially in the herb section, that we do find out in the wild. Excellent pictures. Wildman Steve Brill has a newer book, Shoots and Greens of Early Spring. It's also good. And then for years I've been using this old book, made years ago by Reader's Digest, which has, for each plant, it has a photograph and a pen and ink drawing. And I just use this a lot of times to identify plants that I can't identify otherwise. I often end up finding a good picture. I'm not quite sure if this is the plant or not, and between all these different guides, I find I'm able to identify something. Here's another book I just keep on hand because it has excellent pictures, Ortho's Guide to Herbs. Of course, that's only herbs and flowers, but a lot of plants you can identify by their flower. And then the next thing I do is, for many years, probably 30 years now, I grew up with herbalists. I study herbalism and what to do with the plants. So this is a book that every health food store has. You can get it anywhere. Probably most of you have it. Prescription for Nutritional Healing. I keep that on hand, how to treat certain ailments. I come across how to use the herbs. This Peterson's Guide for Medicinal Plants has a lot of information on using the plants. I have Wildman's book has a lot of uses of the plants, and then I have other herbalism books that I use, and I find a lot of information online these days. Just go online and look up herbs for colds, herbs for headache, herbs for skin rashes. Anything you want to find, you can basically find there. I keep a lot of books on hand, and I'm constantly trying to learn these. Here's viral immunity, Dr. Williams, some herb uses in there. One more thing I just want to say is that as you learn more about how to identify the plants, like here's a book on eating raw and incorporating more raw vegetables, greens, into your diet, things like stinging nettles. You'll find some inspiration for how to use them, many more of them, and really increase your health in a book like this by Roth. That's what I have to say today. I'll be back soon with more on identifying specific plants and foraging in general. Maybe we'll do a little foraging tour online.